Now, I know you said you hadn't seen the co-main and the main event, but have you seen the full fight of the main event?
Well, Matt Brown against Barberena.
No, Will Smith bitch slapping
Oh,
Chris Rock.
oh, again, I've just seen the actual slaps. I've seen the joke, the reaction, gets on stage, slap.
Have you seen the keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought it might have been bullshit first. I've rewatched it a bunch of times, including in slow motion, and there's no way it's bullshit. One,
That's
because
true.
he puts that's not just a slap, man. He puts his full like it's a slap, but it's with the hip turn, the shoulders come into it. I mean, that is the slap of a man who has slapped somebody like that before. That's all I'm saying. That wasn't his first slap.
Really, I felt his distance was a little off. I felt he lost a little power, kind of having to lean back a bit into it.
There's truth to that. There's truth, but if you think of it more like a short hook, but just with an open hand, the distance was perfect, and by getting
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
close,
yeah. But his feet were too close. Do you know what I mean?
true, true, but
He's
by
sort of
being that
leaning back
close,
on it. Whereas if he was at the right kind of posture, that would have gone straight through the hip. Would have been nice. Might have dropped him.
this is true, but my logic is he if he'd started the slap from further away, Chris Rock might have seen it. Whereas by getting into close proximity, it's outside of his peripheral vision, and he caught him by surprise.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, he walks all the way up to him, but given the situation, there's like up until the palm is on his cheek, there's no way he believes it's really happening.
I think he didn't believe it really happened even the couple of seconds afterwards. Like you just don't
Oh
expect
yeah,
it to
yeah.
happen at the Oscars. This is fucking nuts. Um,
We handled it well.
did you see though he gets slapped, and if you look at it, Chris Rock immediately cocks his right hand and obviously doesn't throw it. But I love the fact that like his initial reaction, one, he takes a slap like a man, but his body's automatic reaction was to form a weapon of response. And then he, unlike Will Smith, was able to control himself. We might as well start the show with this. The whole fucking world's talking about this, and people are coming to different conclusions and all the rest. What's your view? What's your view on it, mate? Like, had
That's the same as Kobe Jorge. Like in principle, he shouldn't do this. I'm not like with Jorge. I'm like, yeah, like good for him. And with Kobe, I'm like, I'm glad someone fucking hit you. With this one, I'm like, it's a comedian making a joke about saying, she's addressed her alopecia before. Obviously,
not
it's
very
going to be a sore
publicly,
point.
not very publicly, not very
Didn't she
publicly.
release a public statement saying something about how she wasn't going to lose this fight to alopecia? Like, I'm pretty sure
It's
like she had this whole statement where she was like, I want to get out ahead of this. Like, that's why I've shaved my head. It's so that I don't have to go around looking like I've got like clumps or like, I can't remember how she words it. And at the end, she's like alopecia's not going to win this fight or battle or whatever. Like, she was kind of like owning it. And also, like, as a comedian talking shit on a stage, it's, I don't think this really compares to what Ricky Gervais said about Caitlyn Jenner. That was
so.
the Oscars as well, right?
Here's the thing. My viewpoint on it is a couple of things. One, I would like to refer back to my comments about Jorge Masvidal and Colby Covington, which is that we don't live in a society where it's fucking okay just to hit people
Yeah,
because you
yeah.
don't like their
You don't
words.
put hands on people.
Um, it it's in reality it's no harm no foul. Like Chris Rock is a fucking man. Okay, he took the slap like a man. He can deal with it. He's not hurt. You know what I mean? This wasn't assault, which is what some people are saying. But Will Smith is not in the fucking right for doing this for a few reasons. One, Chris Rock has said that he didn't know that she had alopecia. I didn't know that she had alopecia. Just because somebody posted it doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that it is 100% common knowledge. She's also given many interviews where she's talked about how much she loves shaving her head and she loves her bald head. So it's not like she's had this constant message out there. She may have put a statement out there, but that statement is not necessarily going to be known by everybody. Now, was it a shit joke? Yeah. I don't think it was a written down joke. And that's the other thing I think about. It's like either this was a joke that was written for Chris Rock and he was delivering it, or he made the joke on the fly. It
I
wasn't a
doubt
very
it.
good joke.
It's kind of like improvising on SNL. You just don't do it. Like You
Well,
know,
so
they he would be in a ton of shit if he had made that joke on the fly. You know, I
so
think the Oscars would have really made like some kind of statement on it, but they don't like at that level of like event organization, they don't. No, that would have been a clear joke, and I think very much in the grounds that like shit, like alopecia fucking sucks. It's not nice if someone says something about it, but you're a celebrity, you're at the Oscars, he's on a stage, you could be upset about it. Yeah, like you can't put fucking hands on people.
and
Technically, it is assault.
so again, it might not have even been Chris Rock who wrote the joke. It might have been, and he's on the fly and he ad libs. It's a terrible joke. It's a light fucking joke. In all fairness, this, I mean, considering their marriage involves um, Jada Pinkett Smith fucking her son's friend, which sounds like something that you'd see on Pornhub, and it happened in real life. And then she discussed this very publicly. They apparently have this open relationship, but a lot of people
Yeah.
seem to think that it's a lot more open for like he's the wife and kids kind of type, and she's the I have a free ticket kind of thing. So it's not like the joke. If it was something along those lines, I'd be like, okay, you're defending your honor there. But he
Well,
finds the
hang on.
joke funny.
Yeah. Let's just say what it is though. It's not about the joke. It's about Jada's reaction to the joke.
Oh yeah,
It's not about what happened that day. It's about some other shit. They're a married couple.
yeah.
They have some well documented like skeletons that are no longer in the cupboard, but like every married couple has shit. They were like clearly he laughs, sees her fucking stone face, sucking lemons, and he's like, I shouldn't have fucking laughed. And then he's just like, remember the other thing, and gets on stage and slaps Chris Rock. It's not like, yeah, it's not that funny as a joke. The Caitlyn
It's a
Jenner
terrible
doing
joke.
nothing for female driver stereotypes joke is way
That's a
fucking funnier.
great joke. That's a fucking
That
great joke.
thousand times more evil and inappropriate. It might have been the Golden Globes or the Oscars.
It
I don't know
was the
if that really
Golden
makes a
Globes. It was
difference.
the Golden. I don't think they let Ricky Gervais at the Oscars for this exact reason.
Yeah, but
But
like
so
you got to fucking take it on the chin a little better, I guess. And you know,
you
you can say shit about Chris afterwards, but you can't get up on stage and do that.
you can grab him to one side and go, mate, my wife's got alopecia. What the fuck? And his probable reaction is going to be, oh fuck, man, I didn't know. I'm really sorry. I just thought she was shaving her head. It's not uncommon for black women to style a shaved head. It's not unreasonable to think that it's a fashion choice. It, my worry is it touches on a couple of things. Like you have to trust comedians have to have a certain sanctity that they can do their material without fear of somebody not liking it and thinking it's okay to assault them. And something like a very public situation, you know, like the Oscars, that a lot of people tune into, particularly since we live in a weird society where we kind of treat a lot of these people as role models. I don't think it's a good thing for comedians to take the viewpoint that Will Smith was okay to do this. And in the grand scheme of things, like if you view the Oscars as a fairly elitist kind of, night where basically Hollywood gives itself the biggest pat on the back imaginable and everybody
Call
stands and
themselves the
cheers.
Academy.
Literally, they call themselves the Academy. Very good point. Didn't think about that. The job of some of these hosts and the job of Ricky Gervais in many ways at the Globes is not dissimilar from the olden times where the court jester would mock the king. And there is a certain like societal kind of balance of it. It's like you guys are about to have an entire night where you literally suck your own penises and kiss your own asses. For 10 minutes, you're going to take a few jokes that aren't even that tough, taking the piss out of you. You have a little laugh at it and you get on with it because guess what, Will Smith? Everyone already knows this is your fucking night. You are obviously about to win your
Yeah.
first Oscar. Like, this is your fucking night. You know what I mean? It's one joke. Your wife's about to be married to a fuck. I know she's not nominated, and maybe it would have been better
Well,
to make a joke about him.
this
But
the thing though.
still,
Like he's smart. Like he's not smart because he put hands on him. There were 1,000 better ways to do it. I'm not condoning the actual response, but the intent behind it. That's smart. You know, he's weighed up. Oscar actually winning a fucking Oscar. Happy wife. Happy wife means happy life. Fuck the Oscar.
well,
And
dude, they've already
I
put
just
they've already
sorry
put the
about
winner in the envelope. They're not
Yeah,
taking the Oscar. They're
yeah,
not
yeah,
going to
yeah,
say, "Oh,
yeah.
sorry, it's
No,
going to
no.
Javier Bardem instead."
What I mean is, like, you know, when they get home, when they get into the next fight, and she's like, "You never have my back," and he's like, "Do you not remember when I fucking slapped someone on the same night I got an Oscar and took all the shine off it just to be in your corner?" Like,
Do you think?
he's earned himself some grace, I reckon.
Do you think there's an element where he gets home and he's just like, "Okay, Jed, I decided. I stood up for you. For fuck's sake, can you fuck anyone for us aside from our son's friends? Please, anybody. I don't care. You can fuck 4 people at the same time. Just don't fuck the little shit that I used to drive to school."
Yeah, I think I'd like to think those days are over. I don't know. At the same time, you know, he's in a position where he walked up and slapped a guy on stage off the back of basically someone kind of going, that face was enough, unfortunately. I
Yeah.
worry for him. Fuck it.
Well, what I'd say as well, I saw a couple of the reactions I'm seeing. Like I was just listening to Jocko Willink talk about it. It's like, hey man, sometimes you talk shit, you get smacked. And it's not that I don't agree with that. It's that I don't think a comedian doing a set should be considered as talking smack, particularly when it's that brief. It's one joke. It's
Yeah.
shallow waters at best.
Not for that joke.
No, the stories that this basically overshadowed as a result. Bit of a shame. One, Will Smith winning his first Oscar, well deserved. Two, Jessica Chastain winning her first Oscar, massively well deserved. The first deaf person winning an Oscar, only the third female director to win an Oscar. All amazing news stories, completely overshadowed by that fucking right bitch slap.
Yeah, to be fair though, bro, like, you know, I can't remember what Chris said at the time. It's like the most important night in TV, or this is a moment in TV history or
This is
something.
one of the greatest nights in television.
Yeah. Yeah, and he nailed it. I wouldn't have even known the Oscars happened this week if Will Smith hadn't got on stage and slapped it.
That's
And
true. The
now it's
contenders were terrible this
fucking
year.
like 90% of everything I've tried to read online. Like, you go on Reddit and the first literally like 15 articles are all the same fucking thing. Just
Yeah,
Will
true.
Smith slaps Chris Rock.
They've got it's the still that they're using for the news stories, which is just fantastic. They've all got just that perfect still, just the hand still across, the face across to one side.
Oh, the memes are fantastic. Yeah,
Oh mate,
I don't know if you've ever seen. I know you know you can't read it much, but most of the NFL divisions have like little meme war subs. So, for example, in the NFC East meme war, it's just like commie, Giant, and Eagles fans posting shit like Chris Rock as Cowboy fans. Yeah, y'all still them boys. This is our year, and then just Jerry Jones just no, because you fucking suck.
hang on a
They
sec,
sign
hang on a
like
sec.
two, three agents and fucking strip the rest of their team.
I'm sending you a meme that Mia sent me last night.
Unfortunately,
Oh,
I
it's on
won't
your
be able to
phone.
check it.
It's on your
Yeah.
phone. Shit, I forgot.
I'll check it
It's.
later.
Do you remember Hitch?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Get Out.
No, like Hitch, the movie with Will Smith.
Yeah. Will Smith like slaps Kevin James, like does the
Yes,
like
yes.
effeminate kind of double slap. He's just Get Out.
That's right. So I mean, it's a thing which is the cover, but it's changed to Hitch has changed to bitch. How to keep your wife's name out your fucking mouth. Um, yeah, very weird. Um, Listen, Will Smith is Will Smith, man. Like, side of fucking accidentally shooting somebody on a movie set, I don't think there's a lot that this guy could do to kind of remove him from, being a Hollywood A-list movie star that people love. I mean, the guy has made some bad movies in the last few years before King Richard, and people still love him. So there you go. I didn't do it in the end. I was going to try and rework the bloody intro to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to match it, but I couldn't get any further than this is a story about how the Oscars got turned upside down. And then
That's a strong start.
after that it's very specific because the rest of it is very specific locations, events. I couldn't get any further.
Well, you know, fuck it. Like, I don't think it's that big a deal, but obviously to everyone else, the Oscars mean a great deal.
It's just weird, man. It's just weird. It's just a weird thing to have happened.
Ezra Miller got detained or charged or fined or something this week in Hawaii for much, much worse behavior. So it's like,
oh God, what did Ezra Miller do?
I think he was just absolutely shit-faced drunk, or maybe I don't know what he partakes in, but the boy was on a wobble, and in the bar that they were in Hawaii, they started playing some karaoke or something, and then he was like getting in people's faces, telling them to stop, and like basically nothing that I haven't firsthand experienced myself or one of my friends doing. But one of those bad nights, and unfortunately, if you're Ezra Miller, you're probably not going to leave when you should, and you're definitely going to be recognized. So, but fuck it. Will Smith slap Chris Rock at the Oscars, so no one knows, really.
That's a good point. It's like, what's that? Oh fuck, I can't remember what it. Oh, Birdman. Have you seen Birdman?
Or Michael Keaton and Ed Norton.
Yeah, there's this whole thing about it where he's talking to this person. He's talking about celebrities that died on the same day as a more famous celebrity, and nobody pays any attention to it.
Oh, yeah,
and just this kind of like, and that happens. That happens a lot, but that can be for both good and bad news, I suppose.
Yeah, I just think of that Entourage bit where Johnny Drama's like scared that if they both like die in a plane crash, it would just say in the eulogy like Vincent Chase and brother. Like,
oh man, I need to go back and rewatch the early seasons of Entourage. For 5 seasons, that show was
credit for.
5 seasons. That was a good show.
Some of the was it I think the season after the cocaine season didn't suck that fucking bad. But like the cocaine season or the one before it, fucking balls. So, I think 6 and 7 were rubbish. Then 8 was like not great. It was a lot better.
So the only problem that ruins the last season is that I hate the ending, because you can tell that they know it's the end and they're just suddenly
they rewrote it. Doesn't matter.
I know. But it's not just her storyline, it's a few others. You just feel like, okay, it's the end now. We've got to quickly just like take everybody's arcs and just, shoehorn them into a finish. But in concept, it's a great show. In concept, I thought it was a lot of fun. And it did kind of give a sort of idea of what Hollywood was like in that kind of like, early 21st century sort of time.
Well, oh my God. It's basically how Mark Wahlberg kind of views himself, right? At least the first season. Mark Wahlberg gives you so many reasons to hate him. He just keeps giving you these fucking reasons to like him again. Oh,
you don't like Mark Wahlberg?
Well, there was he when he was a kid, he racially attacked some dude and hit him in the head so hard he went blind. He's done some fucked up shit. Like, he's no angel, and he can be a bit of an arsehole from what I understand. But then he'll put in some fantastic performances in some really good fucking films, and also some really shit films that I still like.
He's got this great ability. It's almost like he's figured out a pattern where he'll do just enough shit movies that you start to think there's no point watching his movies anymore. And then he'll either do like a really good, critically acclaimed performance or drama or Oscar-winning movie, or he'll just make a fun movie that is fun as fuck that everybody likes him in.
He's like Nicolas Cage if you listen to his agents.
Nah, Nicolas Cage is awesome, man. Nicolas Cage just fucked up his taxes. That's what screwed up his career. He fucked up his taxes.
Nicolas Cage has done some really bad films, and he has done some really bad performances in what could have been good films. The bees scene in Wicker Man. I know it's a pretty cool film, but
that's a
the one where he thinks he's becoming a vampire. No, the one I'm about to talk about. The one where he thinks he's been bitten by a vampire.
Vampire's Kiss.
Vampire's Kiss. Yeah, he is fucking weird in that movie, bro. He is fucking weird.
The thing is, though, is that he approaches acting, so he is very heavily influenced by Stanislavski and old, like, silent films and early, like, 20s films and stuff like that. So, like, with him doing, like, the Vampire's Kiss thing, there was a real, like, Nosferatu sort of kind of symbology he was trying to go for with some of the facial expressions. I've seen him talk about it, and it's interesting hearing his approach. But in terms of, like...
I'm a Nick Cage apologist as well. All right, there's no shame in him, Matt. But he is not someone that makes lots and lots of sound career choices or business choices or tax choices. I'm
The tax
very
one's
fucking
fucked me.
excited for his upcoming project.
Oh mate, I can't wait. I can't
What's it?
wait.
The weight of the unbearable
The
weight of talent.
unbearable weight. So the unbearable. It's like the unbearable weight of talent, or the unbearable weight of extraordinary talent. It's something
Something
like
like that.
that.
Yeah.
Something like that. I can't wait for that, mate. And what I would say is that up until about 2006, I'd still say that Nicolas Cage did more winners than losers by a really large number. 2005, 2006 is when it all goes crashing down, with the exception of like Bad Lieutenants and a few other little gems. Like he's done more like art house movies recently, like Mandy and stuff like that, which are worth watching and kind of
Yeah.
embrace his weirdness.
He's done some weird, amazing ones. Obviously, coming through with Francis Ford Coppola, like The Outsiders. Was he in Rumblefish as well?
I haven't seen
Maybe
Rumblefish.
not. I can't remember. Um, it's
He's in a
fucking done.
lot of movies, mate. Like the
You seen
guy works.
Adaptation?
Yeah, great movie, man. Love adaptation.
Yeah, and I seen that because they got on the trailer for his new one, The Turtles again. It just reminds me of him and his twin singing that song in the movie.
They've mixed I've seen trailers for it, which are the mix of all of these, like his different previous films. So it's gonna be interesting. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is what the
That's
movie's
it.
called coming up. Um, Before we get into the actual fights, side piece, he was talking about when he did Face Off, and obviously directed by John Woo. And he had this whole idea. He was talking about it, just like, I already knew that I wasn't going to do anything that they told me to on the script. Like I had my own very physical inspiration that I was going for. And the first scenes that we filmed was the scene with all of the choir girls singing Hallelujah at the beginning,
Yeah, the airport.
and he does the like thing with the face and stuff like that. And he does a couple of takes of that. And obviously, like immediately, John Woo cuts and he goes, "Okay, let's start again." Doesn't say anything, and he keeps doing it. And goes over to him. He's just like, "Okay, so it's going to be this kind of performance, is it?" And Nicolas Cage just looks at him and goes, "Yep." Expecting John Woo to just be like, "No, you can't do that. You've got to tame it down." He's just like, "Okay." Just apologize to John Travolta. He's like, why? He's just like, because this guy's got to mimic you in the other half of the movie. Anything that you do, he's got to end up doing as well.
And they do it well.
They do it well. They
Like,
do it really, really well.
I like that film way more than I should.
It's a good movie, man. It's you've got to suspend all of your disbelief, like it's the most harebrained, ridiculous thing of all time. But it's a fucking great movie,
No,
man.
it's Escape from LA is the most harebrained ridiculous. But this is fucking up there. It's not too far off. Nothing for me will ever top that bit in Escape from LA where the transsexual strippers paraglide in with assault rifles to like it's like the cavalry's here.
Dude, I haven't seen that movie since I was in
Bro,
university,
do
man.
you remember the bit where literally Steve Buscemi is in a car and Snake gets into the car chase with him on a surfboard on a wave in some sort of irrigation ditch that
Yep,
is
I
never
remember
fully
that.
contextualized or explained. And all Steve has to do is turn right or stop or speed up, but he doesn't. He maintains the same speed as the wave, slightly slower actually, just going, ah! And he surfs into his car or onto the bonnet. I can't remember. But the point is, that movie will never be outdone in a way that is still watchable. That I think that's the limit of inane action movie bullshit ideas. Just it's like they had a week to write the movie, spent 6 days doing coke in some kind of writer's room, realized they had about 5 hours left, and they were like, go, 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 just writing everything down furiously. Didn't matter what the next person said. And then they just sort of stuck on
Okay.
a loose kind of start and stop to kind of tie it together as a story.
Here's the difference, though. Escape from LA completely from start to finish embraces same as Escape to New York. Escape from New York. It embraces its level of seriousness straight away. You know what kind of movie you're into. Face Off does this weird thing where it literally like I've heard people talking about the production, and it seems like they had the script was completely different, and then they changed like massive components. Like it was meant to be set in the future, and certain elements of that never got removed from the script. But you have this movie that for like 40% of it is just your classic, like gritty, realistic, like, stop the terrorists, cop drama kind of thing, mixed in with like the space boot prison, the face off technology, all these other factors. So it's like the movie wants you to take it seriously, but then goes so completely over the top on concept with certain things. But I love it. I love it.
Ah, God bless John
Right.
Woo.
God bless John Woo. I tell you what movie I really want to. That's making me want to rewatch is Hard Boiled with Chow Yun
That's a good
Fat.
movie.
Fucking hospital shootout is legendary in that. Um, Mate, should we talk about some fights other than Will
Let's
Smith
do
slapping
it.
people? So, America, you have the UFC back. You have the UFC away from Vegas. And Columbus, Ohio brought the energy. I love this, man. This is the second card in a row we've had live fans that isn't a pay-per-view. And for the second card in a row, that stadium or arena, or whatever you want to call it, at least 70% full from fight one. Ohio
Yeah.
went fucking about.
I only got to take it in for the prelims. I had to watch everything else on my phone, so it was a bit late. But yeah, it's nice. Still didn't quite compare to UFC London or whatever. They tried their hardest, and it was pretty fucking good. And again, I really couldn't take it in because I had to like watch this card in such broken kind of periods, and watching the bulk of it on my phone was very frustrating. But it did feel like it was a really good fucking card.
Yeah, main card was excellent. Loads of good fights, loads of good matchups, close fights as well. Good finishes in a couple of fights. Prelims, I didn't see the first two. I've just seen the highlights, and I saw obviously Manon Fiorot. I saw Chris Gutierrez. Other two fights on there, I'd have to check my notes. But this was a thoroughly entertaining card. Really enjoyed it. And it delivered with a bang at the end. Couple of great finishes to round off after, I'd say, three or four really, certainly three excellent, close, scrappy fights that I thoroughly enjoyed. I mean, let's start at the main event.
All right.
Curtis Blaydes showed up to make a statement, man. And he made that
Yeah,
statement.
I've only seen the finish, Matt. This is one of the ones unfortunately I haven't been able to get it working. So I haven't seen the first round. I've only seen the second round, as brief as it was. But I do remember in the picture saying that even with a big statement win against Daukaus, he still had, really a mountain to climb to kind of push himself into. Let's assume between surgeries and re-signings, there's going to be an interim shot. He's still not in that interim title picture for me. It's a shame. But he did look much improved in the 10, 15 seconds that I saw of stand up. And I do think this guy is becoming a well-rounded threat. That's what was the fight before this one? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, so first round, Daukaus actually starts really well. He catches him with a couple of right hands, but it doesn't take long for Curtis Blaydes to adjust. What's impressive is he didn't even feint the takedown. Everything was just on the feet. He started catching him as the first round went on. He definitely, obviously, he's got the length and the reach. He had the control, and was kind of frustrating Daukaus a little bit. You could tell that it was, Daukaus wasn't enjoying getting outboxed by a wrestler that wasn't even trying to wrestle. And really, the knockout is just Daukaus coming out and trying to wind up for an absolute haymaker of a right. And the right straight.
Yeah,
he headbutts his right hand.
Shot coming in.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect technique from Curtis Blaydes. He doesn't wind anything up. It's just a perfect counter shot. Just step in, nice and quick, everything down a straight line. And Daukaus basically did all the work for him. And touching
you
on what
could
we
tell
said,
he's on the ground covering his face. It's not just because he lost. I think it's very much how he lost. He was immediately just overwhelmed with remorse for that mistake. You could tell.
Well, I think the problem is that in his mind he's thinking, "Oh, okay, this guy's, this guy's just won. He's not even started wrestling yet. He's probably expecting him to start wrestling in the second round. That's maybe what Daukaus thought. Like, okay, he's going to fill me out for the first round. then he's going to start wrestling me in the second round. And I think in his mind, he just thought, I need to get some respect. You know what I mean? How did Lewis beat him? How did Ngannou beat him? They just knocked him out. They just landed a hard shot. I'm just going to wind up and hit him as hard as I can. But he didn't set it up. He didn't, he telegraphed it. It was literally like a charged attack. And unfortunately, it was poor. And it told me really that we thought that it was a bit of a step up for him to fight Lewis in the main event in his last fight. He's barely 3 months out, and he's fighting again in a main event after getting knocked out. So maybe he hasn't even fully recovered. He's now had 2 knockouts in 3 months, which isn't good for your health. And really, this is the issue when you take that step up, is that even if you lose, they don't always drop you back down to where you should be. He's still fighting top 5. He went from a top 5 guy losing to fighting another top 5 guy. And they're just further ahead than he is. Particularly somebody like Blaydes, where, you look at the difference. He was taller, he was more athletic, he looked stronger, he looked faster. Daukaus isn't there yet. And he's taken this big jump up. And obviously he's going to say yes to a Blaydes fight because he wants to believe that he is in that realm. And he's like, if I can just get a big win
he'll be
back.
getting pushed into it as well. Because unlike with the other weight classes, heavyweight, if you because they don't have a lot of depth as well. But if you start reaching down to lesser fighters that aren't really worth having a number next to their name, and one of your young ranked guys just gets caught with a funky shot, it happens more often. And there's also just kind of this acceptance that heavyweight, you're very unlikely to go on a long win streak just because of the nature of the weight class. So they understand that fans are a little bit more forgiving. It sucks for Chris because I think you're absolutely right. He needs to get, I don't know, like maybe 2-3 more years under his belt. Try and get in at least 5 fights there, and then I think potentially this guy really could be a legit top 5 guy. But right now, he's whiffing just behind. Sergey Spivak kind of stumbled, and he stumbled a little earlier on, so he's going to get a few more kind of opportunities at slightly fighting up. Chris is, Chris is going to have to win another fight to get to the likes of Taito Ivasa, which he can. Just another bad news kind of potential. Like fucking, I feel bad for him. Is what it is. Tom Aspinall, though, he's our last kind of young horse in the race there.
He's different.
Yeah.
And Spivak got a big bounce back, has had a few big bounce back wins recently. He's still on the track. Taito Ivasa is very much there.
Yeah. So Ty's right up there. I'm hoping though Ty's kind of made enough of the changes that he can carry on lining on the job. But I still don't really favor him against anyone else kind of above him in the rankings.
Nah. He can take a punch though, Ty. That's the one thing that I'd say. I don't know if I think he's got that Stipe thing where like everyone else is getting knocked out first punch from Ngannou. But him and Stipe, I think, are the guys that could take it and kind of, get a second chance. If this was a video game, they've got a couple of extra fucking lives in Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Blaydes said that out of Mark Hunt, Ngannou, and Lewis hits the hardest. He said with Lewis, he got hit, he woke up in the ambulance. Like, he hits the hardest.
Yeah, but the thing I'd say is that Ngannou never caught him clean. In the first fight,
a lot of people super clean though, because his sort of techniques just not really.
No, but what I'm saying is I think Ngannou is a more powerful human. He just doesn't have as good a delivery system to administer that power. And the other thing is that uppercut, Lewis dips his whole body down, uses his legs, his shoulders, his hips, his core, his arm to rip up at the same time that Blaydes is dipping down. So that's a huge amount of force.
It's a haymaker with technique, and it's well timed and it lands. Yeah. Hardest hitter. Ngannou throws those haymakers, but he does not throw them with the same beautiful technique, and often not. I wouldn't say poorly timed. It's just Derek Lewis is like a real elite talent with this.
Well, the funny thing with Ngannou as well is that if you look at a lot of his fights against elite people, if you take the Overeem one out and look at the way that he beat and Stipe, okay, Stipe is slightly different, but he had a whole run of fights where it was very weird. Like you think like the second Blaydes fight, Blaydes was kind of knocked down and he was swarmed, but he wasn't really put out. You have the Cain Velasquez, the knee kind of buckles as the uppercut lands, and it's all a bit awkward. The Santos fight, where it just didn't really feel like he landed clean on Santos. It just felt like Santos kind of felt it and was just like, oh, I've taken enough damage, mate. Fuck this shit. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like, okay, he put him out clean. It just felt like, oh, fuck, this is an aging guy. He doesn't need any of that fucking hot sauce. And he sort of took an exit out. So I do wonder, obviously he's a very powerful guy, but like Cyril Gann took a couple. He seemed okay. Maybe Ty could beat somebody like Ngannou.
Yeah, plus I think the big thing with the Ngannou one is Ngannou does have a much more kind of measured approach. He has a game plan because he has more facets to his like offense now. He can do more. Defensively, he's way stronger as well. But yeah, I can see he kind of, Stipe really explained to him how crucial a gas tank is over 5 rounds. And I think that kind of approach is definitely going to help Tai Tuivasa.
Good point. Final thing I just want to say, obviously, Curtis Blaydes walked out to Mortal Kombat as always, which is fucking cool when you've got fans there. What did you make of Daukaus switching up and moving off Fox? Oh, you haven't seen it. You haven't seen it. He doesn't walk out to Fox on the Run.
Well, I think he's only done that like twice. I don't know if he did it on his UFC debut. So I think the guy does like to change it up. And the other thing is, if you don't tell them to change it, they will keep it. So I know fighters have meant to change the song before and then done the same one kind of again without even thinking about it. But it depends what your priorities are, I guess.
True. He walked out to a great choice, though. He picked Greta Van Fleet. Do you know that band?
That doesn't ring a bell.
Cool band from Detroit, man. The singer sounds almost identical to Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin. And their first album sounds a little tinsy bit derivative, but they've kind of started branching into sort of their own sound. But it's nuts. You listen to he was walked out to Highway Tune and you hear it. You can't, unless somebody if somebody put that on the radio and said, oh, this is a song from Led Zeppelin from an album you haven't heard, you wouldn't question it.
Is it a reasonably recognizable song?
I know the song, so I obviously know it and recognize it and enjoy it. I don't know if you would recognize it. It is a fucking tune, though. If you type in that, I think it's the Highway Tune or the Highway Song by Greta Van Fleet.
Check it out when we're done. Often I know the song, I don't know who it's by or what it's called.
He's great singer. Although they asked Robert Plant about this kid. And they're just like, he sings an awful lot about you. He's just like, yeah, I noticed that, funnily enough. The weird thing is, I checked out some interviews, and apparently he says he's influenced by Aerosmith. So I guess it's just me.
I don't know. No sympathy. Led Zeppelin have been caught pinching stuff.
Plagiarizing a lot, yeah.
They're not innocent in this. Robert Plant. That's not I guess.
We've broken my childhood enough discussing the negatives of Led Zeppelin. Moving on, one of my favorite up and coming fighters fought a fighter that I'm also a big fan of and very fond of. So I knew that I was going to be kind of both happy and sad no matter what. I expected Alexa Grasso to show what she's about and put in a performance. She put in a hell of a performance. She looked I mean, really just levels above Joanne at this point in her career, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame to say. But
well, first round finish, and I've only seen sort of the 20-second sequence leading up to the finish. Jojo looked pretty bloodied up.
There's an opening encounter where they close in, and literally, I mean, the speed of the combination that Grasso lands on the inside is just stunning. And then as Jojo clinches, she transitions perfectly from body, head, uses that momentum to then force her into the ground, beats her up on the ground, then stands her up, just completely confident in her ability to win the fight on the ground. Joanne lands a couple of teeps to keep the range a little bit, but as soon as it got close, Joanne went for a spinning elbow. She read it perfectly, ducked under, use the momentum to obviously take her to the ground, and then from there it was over. And from Grasso's point of view, you think about where she started, and you think something like the Esparza fight, where she just got completely out wrestled, and she's worked on this side of her game so much. You saw it with Macy Barber, you saw it in this fight. She's got speed, she's got phenomenal boxing fundamentals. She's got, I mean, I do think Joanne is on the decline, but really the only two fighters I've seen beat her kind of that one-sidedly are Taylor Santos and now obviously Alexa Grasso. Even if you look at like the Jennifer Maia fight, which wasn't a good fight for her, she still looked like the better fighter until it went to the ground. But this just felt like she didn't have a single avenue of MMA she would have bested Grasso in.
I love JoJo. I think JoJo is still going to put on good fights, UFC, for a little while, I think. But she never should have given up her title shot, and she will never get another one. I don't think.
No.
It's just
also,
it's a tough division to be holding.
Also, have you heard the stuff about what she said in the pre-fight media?
No.
So they were saying that they're trying to move away from her kicking game because they don't think that from what they've seen, the judges seem to score punches more favorably than kicks. And so they've been trying to change her style to be a more judge-friendly style. And they've been inviting judges into training to watch sparring sessions, basically, so they can get a sense of what's working, which I think is a really good idea. But what I don't like is at 36 years old saying, okay, former British Muay Thai champion, whose entire game is built around a long-range Muay Thai kicking game, kind of leading everything. Don't do what you're best at because the judges may or may not like it more than punches. I think it's a really negative way to be going into it. You've got to try and prioritize your skills.
Because the other thing is where the judges kind of favor more than anything isn't punches over kicks, but it's kind of impactful shots. So you are going to have to put together lots of high energy combinations where you are either kind of mixing in kicks to kind of drop their eyes and everything to get the hands in, or lots of different ways to do it. I'm playing something out in my head and then not describing it very well. My point is, it gets to the point you have to take more risk and you have to do things kind of quicker, in more volume, with more power, in bursts. And with JoJo, where she was kind of always more of a volume, low power, skilled kind of striker, I think in an essence, she probably has seen that the judges have kind of turned away from that style. But I don't think it's punches over kicks. I think it's more just it favors people that have more of an anaerobic respiration, young and energetic, very explosive athlete kind of thing. And then you need to have all the technical ability to kind of do this without getting knocked out yourself. But that's what the judges favor these days. They want to see the impactful, damaging shots, getting them sort of closer to a finish, impacting their ability to fight, that kind of thing. And I wonder what it would be like. Actually, no, that's a fucking ridiculous comparison, right? I was gonna say, with someone who's kind of like more of a classic point fight with a point fighting background and a point fighting style in the MMA, like GSP. I wonder what he would make of the judges these days scoring his fights. I don't think he'd lose any of his fights, but he might lose a few more rounds here and there.
He spent the majority of his second title reign on top of guys controlling them. I don't think there would have been a lot of avenues. And to be fair, the rounds that he did lose were the rounds where people caught him. You think Carlos Condit, you think, the middle rounds against Johnny Hendricks. Arguably the first one should have gone against him as well.
Well, I think that first one, the Johnny Hendricks fight for sure, would go for Johnny with the updated. 100%. But then you can't take a fight that they know they're fighting under one rule set, change the rule sets and be like, oh, does that make them a better fighter? They would have fought different. But I'm just saying, and GSP would have fought differently because he's a fucking beast. That's why he was the best, not because his style favored the judges. I truly believe he would be able to emulate whatever style he would need to do to win these fights in the safest, most efficient, just technically most impressive fashion. JoJo, you can't get younger and change your kind of whole athletic build. It's
The biggest, I
I
think,
see. I kind
shame
of
for
see what you're saying,
Jojo.
though.
The biggest shame for Jojo, obviously, when you're fighting a boxer, keeping range is going to be important if you're a Muay Thai person, because Alexa Grasso, the head movement, the hand speed is all going to be there. But there was, what you could really tell was there was a freedom for Alexa Grasso to be able to go forward into that pocket inside, because she knows she's not going to be taken down, but she knows that she can take advantage of that takedown opportunity if it goes for her. And I think that's what we're seeing more. Sam Alvey is obviously talking about wrestling being the most important thing, and it certainly is. Even for a striker, you have to be able to have that in your game to free yourself up to be able to do everything that you want to do. Why has Charles Oliveira's striking become so good? Because he can get close, he can get in distance, because he's not afraid of the takedown. So there's a whole range that's opened up, whereas somebody like Jojo is kind of forced to almost treat the inside as the danger zone, basically.
Well, we actually do get to see another example of a striker reinvent themselves as a wrestler on this main card. I'm excited to get to that one, but
We'll
Jojo,
get to that one.
this fucking sucks. I think she's just gonna, kind of fill out prelim fights, put on good shows with other good fighters, but our title contention is just a little beyond her right now.
Listen, if they go to Glasgow, if they go back to England in any location this year, I think she can go on that card and have a more winnable fight lower down the rankings. For Alexa Grasso, it's a great win for her. My only fear for her is beating Jojo Calderwood seems to get you a title shot. And I love Alexa Grasso. She is not ready for a title shot. I think she needs at least 2 more fights in that top 5, top 6 kind of capacity. And then she's still not going to be ready for Valentina Shevchenko. But it will help. What I wouldn't want to see is Shevchenko beats Tyler Santos at 275 and Alexa's slotted in as the next person, just by vis-a-vis of you're the only person she hasn't fought or beat yet in this top vicinity.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's going to come soon, but I think if she carries on winning, it's going to be sort of like an inevitability, probably a little bit ahead of time. Still, how old is she? Like mid to late 20s?
28.
Like in this division, I don't know how long Shevchenko is going to go, but she can definitely, it's not going to set her back too much to lose once.
That's true.
True. She'll probably get another bite of the apple, I think.
And I think Andrade has gone back down to strawweight. So I think there's the top of the division is gonna loosen up a little bit after Andrade's next fight.
I did not know that. I think it's a mistake, but interesting.
Well, so here's the I don't know if it's a mistake. I saw it on, if you type UFC into Google and it brings up the fights, it had a next fight listed as a strawweight fight, and it could just be, listen, man, come on, you got annihilated by the current champion at flyweight, and you are 1-1 with your one loss being an extremely close fight over 3 rounds with the current champion. It might be that she's got a better chance of reclaiming the belt at strawweight than she does of winning a belt at flyweight.
I don't know. I feel like strawweight, she's the second best fighter in the division. And at flyweight, she's the second best fighter in the division. At strawweight, she's just top 5.
True, but I'd say that second best in the division is further away from the title than top 5 at strawweight, where you could have your day.
It's a good point. I know what you're saying. I don't know. At least at flyweight, her destiny's in her hands. Because she's already got the loss to the champ, so it's like it's just one. You can come back. Whereas at strawweight, she's got a couple of losses, so it kind of depends on who the champ is and if the rematch makes sense. And so it really becomes like who's going to sell the most pay-per-views. Whereas at 125, she knows that it's probably going to be her. That is probably the best selling pay-per-view they can put, like pay-per-view partner they can put with Shevchenko. And it probably isn't going to be the main, it's going to be a co-main, but still.
You wouldn't want to see Rose versus Andrade 3 down the road, a couple of fights time.
Yeah, but I think if that is in our future, maybe try and get that rematch with Shevchenko first, because again, your destiny's in your hands. You're not going through camp, taking risks, taking fights for nothing. You know that you're probably only one win away from another title shot. Whereas if you go back down to 115, you're going to get caught up in the churn again. And you're going to have to wait for the stars to align for it to be right, for it to be your opportunity. So what I would like to see is her stay at 125. And if you can't pull off the unimaginable, then maybe go down to 115 again. But it really depends. Like you might as well stay at 125 until you know what's happening at 115. You know, you could give it 6 months to a year. There's no rush.
There's another option here. Just take the fights that interest you at both. Do that kind of float in between. Oh, I'm going to take a straw weight, maybe one at flyweight, and then you see where the opportunity presents itself. Keep both doors open.
Yeah, I don't know how much she bulks up for 25. I think it's just cutting less, so that could be a good option.
Yeah, I don't think she bulks up. I think she says that she does a bit more strength and conditioning in her training, where beforehand when she was at straw weight, she didn't. But again, you know, there's been a lot of changes in how people can cut weight in the last few years, couple of years, although they don't seem to be working. Going down in weight does not seem to be the solution for people.
It depends. Yeah.
Apart from Aldo.
Yeah, Aldo. I think Kevin Holland's going to do well. You see, he's put himself forward.
Kevin Holland is not. Kevin Holland is not going down in weight. Kevin Holland is cutting weight to the correct weight that he should have already been at. There is a big fucking difference.
Well, he might be taking another middleweight fight.
Well, because he's fucking crazy and he won't say no.
Well, yeah, Nassourdine Imamov's got visa issues. He can't get entry to the US, so his fight with Gastelum is off for the 9th. So they're looking for replacements potentially.
I don't want him to take that fight because I don't want either guy to lose at this point in their career. If Kevin Holland loses, it's just a real cementer that he can't be at middleweight, and it kills his welterweight momentum all over again. He's got to restart that. If Gastelum loses to Kevin Holland when he's meant to be a welterweight, it's a real what's happening with you, mate?
Gastelum, you know, wanted to be a welterweight for the longest time. I'm not sure where his head's at these days. But it was very much Dana White said, you missed way too often. You can't be a welterweight. He should be at 170. No two ways about it. Both of them could take a loss and move down anyway. I don't think Holland's got much of a shot against Gastelum. I think it's a much easier bounce back fight than Imavov would have been.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But I don't know. If they try and keep Gastelum on the card, I don't think Holland's going to be the first name they call. It could be wrong. You know, it's not like it was a year ago.
Yeah, I agree with you. Can we talk about Matt Brown?
Fucking hell. Yes, we can.
What a fight. What a fucking fight. I mean, this was a drunk bar brawl. This was a drunk bar brawl for the ages. This is the most technical street fight that you will ever see, or the least technical MMA fight that you will see, but it was glorious. Did you think Barberena won, or did you...
Yeah, Barberena won it for me in the last 30 seconds.
Yeah, agreed.
You know, he takes the first, Matt wins the second.
I had it the other way around.
Sorry, I might have said that wrong then. So Barberena had the big strike differential in the second then.
Yeah.
So I've been watching this shit on my phone while I'm trying to get all stuff done. It's been an absolute nightmare. And I haven't got my notes in front of me. This is very frustrating. The third round, I had it for Matt all the way up, you know, once they stood up. And, Barberena starts opening up on him. All the way up until I say about the last 30 seconds, that's where it kind of crosses the line for me. And I'm like, okay, Barberena's stolen this round for sure. It was close, and then he put the statement on it. But this was a great fight. And I just love that you could say it wasn't a technical MMA fight, but the truth is they were more or less trying to find themselves in the right position. It's just that there was constant violence throughout. Barberena did try, I think, in the first round, to kind of just put in those like needless kind of punches just to kind of match the volume. But when Matt Brown does it, it is just constant violence. and it's just not where you want to be. And Barberena managed to just really match him, elbow
They
for
weren't
elbow, knee for knee. It was
they
beautiful.
weren't further than a foot apart from each other for like 95% of that fight.
I
I
think
mean,
the
it was
furthest they were
fun.
away was when he caught Matt with the it was a front kick to the body and just had him kind of backtracking maybe 2-3 steps, and that
Oh,
was about it.
there was a counter elbow he landed in the second as well. Matt was putting the pressure on and he counter elbowed him. I thought there were like 5 points. I thought Matt Brown was done. There were 5 very distinct points. I thought he's about to get finished. He's tired. He's hurt, and the
He's a
motherfucker
zombie.
just is able to wobble through. That was really good fun. Gutted to see Matt Brown lost. Like you say, it was Barberena had a little bit more in the tank. That extra tinsy bit that he could push to squeeze that last round. And funnily enough, listen, Matt Brown will fight on as zombies do. That was Barberena's last fight on his contract. I didn't realize this. The UFC hadn't offered him another one before that fight. I think they will now.
Yeah, well, you never know with them, but I don't think Barberena was probably on too much money. I think he probably will take a pay cut. He did say if they don't re-sign him, he's just going to retire anyway. So
Yeah.
it's, and as huge a fan of Barberena as I am, and a lot of hardcores have the utmost respect for him. Even after this performance, I think a lot of casuals are going to forget. Let's be honest, a lot of casuals didn't really care who Matt Brown was coming in, and unfortunately they never really pushed him, and he was always a bit of a tweener between lightweight and welterweight. He's definitely filled out as a welterweight now. There's no way he'd ever get back down to 55, but I just don't think Bellator have to prize him away with big money or anything like that. And plus, you say you're going to retire, so yeah, I think maybe he takes a pay cut and stays, but you just don't know.
I hope so, man. He's an entertaining guy to have. He's been in some great scraps. You think the Luque fight, what an absolute
Yeah, it
fucking
was
classic
amazing.
that was.
Oh man, Sage Northcutt, that one, I love that one. Did he fight Mickey Gall as well? I
I
don't know if
didn't
he
see
did
the
fight
Mickey Gall
Mickey.
fight. I don't recall it.
Nothing in front of me. Um,
Doesn't matter.
Fuck it though. Did you? Yeah, you agree. Barberena had it. I understand why people are
Just.
upset, but
I thought maybe the crowd might sway it. Just maybe, Matt Brown's punches are getting more cheers, all this kind of stuff. But like you say, it's that last. For you, 30 seconds. I'd say for me, the last 10 seconds, where he puts that extra stamp. He gives you the impression that he was about to win the fight if it goes another 30 seconds. Matt Brown was about to lose, so I agree with it. Shame for Matt Brown, but he'll fight on and say, listen, the cheer he got from his hometown faithful, you know, all those
yeah,
people are still going to love the guy and come out and see him perform. Let's talk about Kai Kara France. I am not just delighted that he won, because I like him as a fighter, but he also won me 15 euros off Sly, so that was very enjoyable. On a bet I didn't want to take.
nice.
I was meant to be the other way round, and I didn't want to bet on Askarov because I didn't want to be upset about Kai both losing the fight and then also, like, I didn't want to be in a lose-win situation. I didn't want Kai to win and then I've lost money on it, which would piss me off, and I didn't want to be pissed off over something I should be happy about. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to put the eggs in the basket. First round was rough. After that, I just thought it was like the Bontarine fight without the finish. Just, he figures it out, he weathers the storm, and then he gets on his feet and he lands damage.
Yeah, the first round and a half, I thought Askarov looked like he was just going to find a way to put him out, but that body triangle, the standing body triangle at the end of the first, clearly kind of gassed his legs way more than he intended. And after that, he couldn't really get his movement going, couldn't measure the distance well. And Jesus Christ, Kai Kara France, that was a statement. You don't often win by decision, and it's like a statement victory. Like, the rest of the division is on notice. I think both Moreno and Figgy are saying, oh, like, if anything happens to my opponent, this is the guy to fill in.
Oh,
Like,
hell
everyone
yeah, mate.
understands how important and how amazing this performance was.
His
How tough he
next
was. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say his next fight is a title fight. It doesn't matter who it's
Yeah,
against. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. He is the next in line, and he fucking deserves it.
yeah. This was amazing. Such heart after that first sort of round and a half to really just absolutely take over the fight. There was no doubt in my mind that he'd won the fight by the end. The way he's jumping on the cage, the way Askarov looks, like potentially that could have been a close second round. I don't know. I don't have the
Oh
stats in
no,
front
no,
of me,
no,
but
no,
it
no,
did look
no.
like no. All right. But either way, like he had no doubt. He was just like, yeah, I fucking won this fight,
The
and
second,
he
the
looked
second
he
round,
looked
he
like a
knocks him
future
down.
champ.
The second round, he knocks him down. He lands a series of good punches, and he doesn't really get in too much trouble. That's the big difference. He has the pressure on, but he doesn't get put in the same negative situation. Watching his confidence grow in the fight, that moment when the second round ends and he's just walking towards him with his hands down, you just feel like that's the moment he believed it was going to happen no matter what. Third round was close, but in the end, you score it. It's a question of you're scoring grappling that was just control against damaging shots that were landed. So it's the difference with the first round is that there was that real threat of a body triangle. Sorry, the first round. Third round, he just wasn't able to get in the same position. He wasn't trying to strike. It didn't feel like Askarov was trying to finish the fight. It felt like he was just trying to hold him down and cling on to victory, basically. Whereas Askarov was landing good shots on the takedown defense, he was landing shots on the feet. He landed the damage in that third round, and he 100% deserved to win the fight. And I mean, what's incredible about this guy, and this is obviously what you talked about it being a statement win, it's not that he just stuffed every takedown. He had to deal with being on his back, being in the worst situation you can be, fighting through it, having enough belief, having enough energy, having enough understanding and skill to be able to get through that and still inflict your damage and make the difference and win the rounds that you need to.
The takedown defense was amazing. Always is with him, but it was absolutely flawless. The way the balance on the high single legs, stuff in the head on the low single legs, the wide planted base and the elbows on whichever side the head was exposed on the double legs, just perfect. Absolutely
Also,
amazing performance from Kai.
like you say, I think there's a real lesson to be learned here, and he actually touched it on this in the pre-fight build-up. Whereas I think for so many people, even the guys with great takedown defense, what lets them down against the Makhachevs, against the Khabibs, against these high-level grapplers that take you down and control you, is that people lose belief and they start getting desperate with their strikes because they think I've just got to fucking hit him with the biggest shot that I've got and make it count right now and get reckless because I'm only going to get a few seconds on my feet. And what Kai showed is that he's still not wanting to be taken down, but there's an acceptance that it's probably going to happen. He doesn't go, well, okay, I just can't get on the ground or I'm fucked. It's an understanding of it's going to happen and I've just got to believe and work through it and look for my moments and approach my moments to attack in the right way. He didn't kick a lot. When he kicked, it was when he was in an open space and he didn't feel that he was going to have his legs cracked. It was very, even when he had his moments on the feet, it was precise and it was focused and it was with simple combinations that weren't going to get him shots, a shoot coming down below him or, under his shots, take him down. So I think there's a lot to be learned from how to be a striker and how to deal with that and not just to think that it's game over because you got taken down.
Yeah, it's that belief, and it's also just do the little things right. Like if he's trying to sprinkle in leg kicks, eat them, get all the fucking way out, but do not check anything because the second he sees your foot leave the mat, you know he's going to shoot. And it's just doing all those little things right. You're like, yeah, this kid looks like a future champ.
Yeah,
Again, I still wouldn't mind seeing the other two fight 10 times in a row, but whenever they're done, Kai Kara France slots in next.
Well, it's so interesting now because you've got Brandon Moreno who's lost. Was it a draw or a loss to Askarov? Or is it a draw and a loss to Askarov?
Oh shit, I haven't got anything in front of me. I can tell off the
Okay,
top of
either
my
way,
head.
I know he hasn't beaten him, but he's beaten Kara France. France has obviously now beaten Askarov. So you're getting a little bit of these top guys kind of trading results with each other. So it all suggests for some interesting fights coming up, even after the epic Brandon versus Figgy 4 that we're all thoroughly anticipating. Moving on, obviously Askar Askarov is very much in that mix as well. He's one of the top guys. I think you can see a real establishment of a very decipherable and understandable top 5 in that division, which I think is a good thing for flyweights moving forward. Gives you a lot more options with future title shots. Let's talk about Neil Magny against Max Griffin. Got bumped up to the main card when Latifi versus Olenek fell out. And, I mean, we kind of called it because it wasn't quite a classic Magny performance. It had the early adversity and then him pulling through. But I don't think classic Magny wanted to leave it that fucking close. I mean, that second round is...
Oh, yeah.
Could have gone either way.
Max fucking comes to scrap, He hits hard. He is a handful. Magny has this way of just always flowing from transition to transition. No matter how awkward, he knows where he needs to be and he finds a way to get there. And he will eat some shit on the way to it. And Max really made him eat some shit here and there.
Is that Otis?
Otis guy, yeah.
I thought that was like thought that was like a radio.
No, he just makes ridiculously weird noises constantly.
That's such a weird sound.
Yeah, it's super fun first thing in the morning.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
It's a good thing you're not religious, or you would think that that's like the sounds of a demon.
He does sound like he's speaking in tongues.
A little bit.
Most of the time.
I've watched enough Harry Potter to know it's not parcel tongue though. So at least you're not dealing with Voldemort.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but I bet in his head he's like, see, I can speak dog. And it doesn't sound anything like how a dog would sound. I might record some when I do the jingle.
That would be quite funny. Just like a sort of like weird, like sort of effect in the background, like hidden around the base.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Buffy the Vampire Slayer at the end, where the Joss Whedon's production company was. They had the zombie and it's like, rah, rah, rah. That's what he sounds like to me most of the time. He has other weird noises he makes, but that's like his main one.
I thought you were talking about the beginning, before it kicks into the guitar. It's like...
No, not the chimes. No, at the end, the crappy little zombie sound. Yeah, a little bit. I think my girlfriend's getting fancy. Shouldn't take shit back. It wasn't a bad fight. It was a close fight. This is what I was going to ask you at the start when you said there was some good decisions. Did you enjoy this Magny fight?
I enjoyed it tremendously. I thought it was a really entertaining fight. He had to fight through some adversity. I thought it was very... This and the Matt Brown fight, I feel like you could just feel the exhaustion. You could feel that this is just like a grueling, every muscle's being used. Your aerobic, your anaerobic system is being tested to its absolute fucking core. It felt like that kind of fight. It was particularly in that third round. It was a real who wants it more.
Yeah, and a little bit of blood on her. Do you agree with the decision?
Probably not. I'd probably say Max Griffin's hard done by, but I also felt that the third round was a 10-8, so I thought it should have been a draw.
Yeah, in my head, I was like, this is either a 29-27 or a draw. Again, I haven't got my notes in front of me. It was either the first or the second. Was it the first round was really close?
First round, he gets dropped. Magny.
Okay, so the second round was the close one then.
Yeah.
Okay, so in my head, I'm thinking that is for Griffin. So I scored it as potentially being a draw, more likely to be a Griffin win. And I can see why they go that second round for Magny, but when they because it's one of the few ones I was able to listen with the volume up. When they read out the scorecards, I was like, Griffin all day. But no. That's one of his other sounds. That's the more standard dog one.
That's more standard.
Got that one down.
That's more standard dog.
It does that well.
Yeah, listen, man, it's super, super close. I think Griffin has a right to be hard done by. I mean, 3 fights on the main card, man. That you flip a coin. You flip a coin, it could go the other way. I'd say I agreed with this one the least. I think Barberena and Kai
Matt
Kara
Brown.
France, the fights both went
Oh,
to the right person. 2 out of 3 close calls isn't bad from the judges. It's all I'd say there is whoever ended up losing that fight has enough there that they can look back and say, okay, I should have done better here. I should have done better here. I made mistakes here. I made it a consideration. I made it too. I gave too much. I gave too much for the judge to go in the other way. Is what I guess I'm trying to say. Very poorly.
yeah. I wonder how much of it as well is judges kind of subconsciously stuck in that old way of kind of scoring. Kind of watch a guy like Neil Magny fight, and he kind of seems to be doing all the things that you'd expect the winning fighter to kind of be doing. I wonder how much of it, not him being a crafty vet in the fight, but just sort of like the technical and tactical approach. I wonder how much of that sucks them in a little bit. Because there's got to be moments where they're like, haven't really been paying attention the last 20 seconds. Who looks like they know what they're doing? It's always nil, isn't it? Like,
Well, I think
I'm being
there's a
unfairly
whole.
cynical here.
I think 5 minutes is a long time to have to judge. I think that's a big issue. I think there's little mistakes like you shouldn't just score somebody for being the aggressor and walking forward, but it's hard not to view the person who's walking forward and putting pressure on as the person kind of taking control of the engagement. So I think that spills in as well. And one thing I'd say about all 3 of these fights is it's very tricky when you're measuring a mix of strikes and control and takedowns and clinch up against the cage, and all 3 guys or both guys are doing a combination of all 3. I think you just get lost in the muck a little bit sometimes. You know what I mean? There's something, if 2 guys just stay on the feet and it's a case of, okay, who looks like they're landing more shots and who's hitting harder, that's an easier fight to call. But when it's these in the clinch, shots being landed on the inside, takedowns, and the guy gets back up, then he reverses, and then some shots landed, it's hard to score. And that's in many ways why I think we should maybe have more 10-10s. I think you could have almost said that round 2, maybe you
Oh,
call as
yeah.
a 10-10. And maybe that's the case. Maybe the mistake is that should have been the second round should have been a 10-10. You should have given the third round a 10-8, and maybe that's how Magny in the moral or the fucking
Yeah.
lineal whatever gets it. But do you know? I
That
think the other fact.
would be a good thing to see, but they would have to scrap win bonuses just so the fighters didn't get fucked on it. But yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to see more 10-10s.
Other factor, man, is I think it's you remember the end of a fight and the end of a round more than you sometimes remember the beginning of a round, unless the beginning is extraordinary. So I think it's better. I think that's the psychological thing that comes in. If you have to deal with a tough first minute and a half or 2 minutes, but then you take over for the last 2 minutes, that's the more present thing in the judge's mind. And I think that comes into it as well. Like, are you in a winning position at the end of the round? Does it feel like that situation would have continued for a while longer if it wasn't for the fact that the whistle went?
So I'm being distracted by Otis.
Don't worry.
I've missed some of that point because of the dog. Matt, no
It's all
doubt
right.
I agree though. We're still shitting on judges, right? Fuck
Uh,
'em. Another.
well, I was more saying I won't repeat my point. But
I'll watch it. I'll watch you back and I'll let you know.
I was basically saying maybe it's better to finish well than to start well. The start will get forgotten.
Oh, sorry. Yep, definitely. Yeah. Well, more so back in the day, less so now. But it's unfortunately, like I say, it's just the way the human mind works. So it's always going to make a stronger impression.
And then I was also saying, like, if you're beating a guy up or you're on top of somebody laying shots down and the round ends, does a judge factor in, well, what you might have still been in that position for another 5 minutes or so if it wasn't for the fact that the round ended? And so if it's close, I might factor that into my decision for who gets that round.
A little, but mostly because if they are literally saved by the bell, then you almost have to score it with more prominence. So once it gets to that point where it's like a bit of a gray area, you're always going to catch that judge on a bad night that's like, yeah, fuck it, 10-8. Like, it's yeah. Not necessarily because I think mostly because of the way the rule set is now, and getting close to finishing the fight should give you more points in that round. Should give you that round. Should potentially give you a 10-8 or a 10-7 in that round, depending on how it went. So yeah, I think for that alone, definitely finishing on top. With them finishing in a submission attempt, like a deep one, especially one where they haven't just literally thrown a Hail Mary like Paul Craig in the last 10 seconds. 40 seconds left. They're fighting their hands on a rear naked choke, and by the grace of God, they get to the belt. That, in my mind, if they have won the rest of the round handedly, has to be a 10-8 or a 10-7. Yeah, fuck, it's all about the end of the round. All about the end of the round.
At the end of the day, Magny won. He's matched GSP for a number of welterweight wins. He's still calling out Khamzat Chimaev. I would say after the strength of that performance, maybe that's not the fight to look for, but that is not my business. Moving on,
have to lose a couple of times.
Yeah, more than a couple, I think. Actually, maybe just once or twice. Maybe even just losing to Burns would be enough. But when we do our picks for 273, you'll realize that I'm not expecting Chimaev to lose that fight. Moving on, we'll move through the rest of these a bit more quickly. Duquessis versus Slava Claus himself. Borshev was obviously the main card opener. Did not expect to see Duquessis wrestle that much. Very impressed. Well done.
Yeah, this was fucking good, all things considered.
Yeah.
I know Slava Claus is, kind of known for his hands, but he trains at Alpha Male. He's working on the wrestling way more than the average person. Duquessis really fucking embraced this whole, I need to be a well-rounded MMA stylist, because as good as my stand-up is, it's just not worth getting caught. And I've just been outclassed a couple of times by guys that are very elite and maybe don't have my athleticism. This is what I've been screaming at guys to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, just get some good takedowns, learn some top control. You could be near on unstoppable. I'm not saying Duquessis is unstoppable, but Bone Crusher looks a legit fucking fighter now. That's just my opinion.
Also, I thought just a very smart game plan. Like, no ego, no... It doesn't matter if this isn't your strongest point. You are better at this than your opponent. Yeah. And this is a completely safe position that he will not be able to get out of. And you will win this fight, basically without getting hit. And that's pretty much what happened. And now he's in a situation where, okay, listen, maybe the crowd booed him. Maybe it's not going to put him on the map or anything like that. But he could fight again in 4 weeks' time if an opportunity came up. He's not injured. He's perfectly fine. He
doesn't cut a ridiculous amount. He's a normal-sized lightweight.
So, and he shut down this. I mean, he shut him down. There was no offense. There was nothing that he could do apart from basically just get fucking manhandled for 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think he ate some nice body shots, maybe early on, maybe the second round, but that literally was it. This is a good fight.
Great main card.
Missed the top of the prelims.
So I did watch the top of the prelims, but with my poor memory, I can't remember what the first fight was, as I'm going to remind myself. Give me a moment. Fucking slow phone. Sarah McMahon against Carol Rosa. This one did not go how we expected. Sarah McMahon, just bigger, stronger, better grappler. Didn't get as tired as she usually does. Didn't make the mistakes she usually makes. Last round, very impressive for Rosa. Oh, you didn't see this one, of course. Sarah McMahon dominated the fight for 2 rounds. Corner, after the second round, told Carol Rosa, you're losing this fight. You need to finish this girl. And she came out like an absolute bat out of hell, but wasn't able to finish the fight. Got taken down herself and controlled for a little while, so it wasn't a 10-8 round. She lost 29-28, and yeah, it was a solid performance. Just a bit of a shame, I'd say, from Rosa, because once she just hit the fuck it button, she looks untouchable. And she was able to get out and reverse situations. It's just she was so nervous about the takedown and was just a little too passive in the guard.
I think in these kind of fights, you have to understand when it gets past like 2 minutes into the second round, your corner needs to be screaming at you like, this is slipping away from you, push the fuck it button.
They were.
Oh,
They were.
man,
It was in Brazilian. It was in Brazilian, but you could tell her, and even in the corner, they were very.
Portuguese.
Sorry, Portuguese. The corner were Brazilian. I said.
Oh, I thought you said it was in Brazilian. My bad. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I may have done. I'm not sure now. I'm not sure. I'm worried I've just been
Fight,
stupid.
fight, fighters have got
But
to know you can't get it all done in the third round.
the problem is Sarah McMahon. She's a fucking athletic freak, man. I mean, silver medalist at 2004. You know, Summer Olympics. I'm not fucking surprised. The woman is a beast. If you remove the tits in the face, she has the physique of a full-on, like, powerful Tyron Woodley-esque man. Um, and I say that as nothing but a compliment. It is just a testament to her raw physical wrestling power. And
And
that's,
with the Lennox off, was she the oldest fighter on the card? She older than
yeah,
Matt Brown?
41. Same age. I don't know who's born earlier in the year.
Impressive, impressive. The old people getting it done.
A good lesson for Carol Rosa as well. You can tell that everyone needs to have a fight like that. You know, she's looked really good. She's still moving up. She now knows what it's like to be just completely dominated and controlled for 2/3 of a fight, and she knows what she can't do in response to it. Next up, did you see
And a
the?
bad Guerrella against Gutierrez, right?
Yes,
I did not see this one yet. This is one of the ones I'm kind of dying to go and watch, but
really fun fight, man. Like Chris Gutierrez, obviously loves throwing those leg kicks. He was doing that. Backdrell was doing a good job of kind of trying to, throw counter shots to stop him doing that. Was able to press him against the cage a few times, but Backdrell very wild, big looping shots. You could tell that Gutierrez was able to kind of keep his head down and maneuver out of it. And he did look like he kind of tired himself out a little bit with that. It was quite a high paced fight from both guys, but obviously Gutierrez, it's more movement and counter shots. Um, the spinning elbow was impressive though, because he tried a spinning shot, I think a spinning back fist in the first round, and completely backfired on him, and he ended up getting taken down and controlled, and possibly lost the round based on that. So I kind of respect the fact that he tried something, it didn't work, but he didn't get discharged. He just checked the distance, made the adjustment, and perfect spinning back fist, mate. Like catches it tight, really tight. Like the arm is like that. It's nice and close. There's no damage of breaking it. It's not overextended. Almost a quasi spinning elbow. He just lands with this part of the forearm. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
nice.
Good fight though.
Definitely
Really
rewatching that.
entertaining fight. Really entertaining fight. And obviously Gutierrez is a beast, man. Like he's starting to put a real run together. Really entertaining. Kizrev versus Teololin. Teololin came to fight, man. He had some good moments. Got tired at the end of the first round.
Yeah,
It
this
was a
one I
bit.
saw.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell the Black Wolf has got some ability. The hype is real. A little hittable, I'd say.
Yeah, it definitely seems to slow down a little bit. Is it the second round? You got the finish?
Second round, yeah.
Yeah,
158 into the second round.
obviously both guys are going for it. Finally gets his debut. I imagine he was feeling a little nervous, maybe a little overexcited, but yeah, it did seem to slow down a little bit in the second round. I'm going to put that down to the jitters, but otherwise, yeah, very impressive.
I meant his opponent kind of slowed down as well. The opponent was Teololin with short notice.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Things to work on. Manon Fiorot continues her run. Second decision in a row, so obviously the knockouts are kind of starting to fall away as the opponents are improving. Jennifer Meyer's a good fighter, but obviously we've already talked about how the flyweight division is kind of shaping up, and we're seeing kind of the true flyweights and the young talent coming through and starting to establish themselves.
Well, like I said, Manon was just going to be too big for her to take down, and I didn't really see it coming. Manon kind of fought quite a conservative fight, especially towards the end, because Maya never really looked like mentally she broke. She always looked like she was in it. She believed she might be able to get something out of it, but yeah, Fiora she's the fucking beast.
And then the last two fights I missed, unfortunately. So I'm going to pass this off to you to talk about Nicolau and Saldana.
Oh yeah, wait, wasn't Saldana against someone else? Was it Nicolau against?
No. The last two fights, the winners of which were Nicolau
Oh,
and Saldana.
sorry. Who is Nicolao's opponent now? Sorry. I've got nothing in front of me. It's been a very stressful
David
weekend
Dvorak.
trying to get this watched.
David Dvorak.
Dvorak, that's right. Yeah, this was a good fight. Unfortunately, I haven't got my notes in front of me. I remember being very impressed with Nicolau. I think the guy didn't just beat Carp on a Carp fluke with him taking the first round off. I think that is a legit scalp, and I think potentially this could be a very interesting fight.
Nice.
And Saldana fought against, I can't remember for the life of me. This one seemed like a pretty clear decision to me. I was very happy at the time. Before Fight Pass shit the bed, I was undefeated on my picks. I think it was like 3-0. When ended up going 7-5 on the picks. Not a great week. I have no idea how you guys did because you didn't bother to put your picks in the group.
I forgot to send them across. That's because Sly never sent them to me, and I forgot to write mine down. And I couldn't be bothered to go through the video and write them all down after I edited it. So that is my fault. I can tell you that 7 and 5 might be quite strong because I picked Blaydes, Alexa Grasso. I didn't pick. I picked Brown and Askarov, so I got those wrong. So I'm still just on 2. Neil Magny gets me to 3. Got Vorshev pick wrong, so I'm still on 3. Got Carol Rosa wrong. Got Chris Gutierrez right, that's 4. Got Kizriev right, that's 5. Got Manon Fiora right, that's 6. Got Nicholas Matau right. Sorry, Mateus Nicolau right, which is 7. So fuck, we're tied. And I have no idea what Sly did because he's not here for this week. So
I have a sick feeling that he did one better than me, but I
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I feel like he went Barbarena.
He did go 6, 7. He got at least 8, mate, even without that, because he also picked Dear Casey. He picked Neil
Chris Daukaus felt.
Sorry.
That's how Chris Daukaus felt.
He picked Dear Casey. He picked Alexa Grasso. He picked Curtis Blaydes. I think he picked Max Griffin, but he ended up winning because he picked Gutierrez. He picked Kizriev. He picked Fioro. He picked Nicolau, and he picked Saldana along with you.
Yeah.
God damn it, Sly one.
Let's not tell him. Let's not tell him until he bothers to watch it back and write down his picks.
This is true. But he is going to figure this out eventually. We can't just give ourselves a half point each. Or can?
No, it's like Uno. Like, you know, if you can get a mistake by, then fucking happen. Or like any game, really. No, go on. We'll tell him at some point, but we won't tell him right away because fucking.
Well, next picture will confirm what his official score is, and I'll do the animation I've been doing for the leaderboard and who's wins and who's up and all that kind of stuff. So we'll do that then. Better news to talk about. Have you seen the Chael Sonnen news that he's had 11 charges filed against him with some pretty disturbing allegations?
So my understanding is that they decided not to press charges in the first place. But then after Brendan Schaub and Bisping started mouthing off about what had happened and everything came out in the press, they were like, you know what? Fuck this. We're pressing charges. So I've only seen a snippet of the police report. I haven't really got any sources or any information past that, but it does sound like he was very much the aggressor in at least some of this instance. I don't know what the initial thing was. And his wife had apparently taken an Ambien. There were Ambien in the room. I did see someone comment online that this isn't that out of sorts for kind of like a fucked up kind of Ambien rage out, you know, when people are completely fucked and wobbly on it. I didn't put that together. That's someone else putting 2 and 2 together. I'm not speculating on it really, but I think it is interesting. I don't fucking know, man. Have you got anything more solid?
Dude,
doesn't look good.
It seems so out of character. It's so this isn't good for UFC in general. Like, you've got 3 of the most famous people at the moment that are all getting in trouble with the law for 4 if you count Kane. I mean, this is not a good run for the sport. I just don't want to believe it, man. I just want to believe, I don't know what's going on. I really don't. And an ambient rage out maybe sounds possible. But, I mean, from what I've heard, like, Chelsea barely even drinks. I don't imagine this is
So
seeing some like jumping drunken stupor rage. I don't
I,
understand.
I've seen a snippet of a police report. As far as I know, that police report was just the report gathering the statement of the other person. Well, it did look like, from what I read, that it was an amalgamation of numerous statements. So I don't know if that's just an initial police report based off of statements. I really don't know. It's such a small little snippet out of context, but it does look pretty fucking bad. I'm right there with you. Um, as much as Chael stylizes himself as the bad guy, I don't truly believe he would do something like this. So it's very disappointing if it is true, but we don't fucking know. We really don't know at this stage. We're not here to defend these kind of actions if it is true. Just saying, like, sit tight because we need more information.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Didn't go well when we did that with Kane, though. We were like, let's just wait until we have all the information. And then it just got 1,000 times worse.
Yeah, but Kane's situation is pretty fucking understandable, mate. I mean, I'm not saying it's
About 1,000
tragic,
times
but
worse.
you know,
It is.
that's a situation that you just think, for fuck's sake, you needed, and it's hard when you're fucking Kane size and as strong as he is. But that's the situation where you need a couple of really good fucking friends or family members that just immediately understand where this news could end up leading and fucking grab you and hold you down on your fucking sofa. You know what I mean?
You know,
Like,
if the
and
school shootings
everybody,
won't make them believe in gun control, hopefully this fucking gets the conversation going. We can't be locking up the likes of Cain Velasquez. Gun
yeah.
control.
Listen, you're making a valid point there. I've changed my viewpoint on gun control. I used to think that it was just insane that you have a country with 300 million guns. I now think that I can understand in certain situations why people do have a desire to have them, but I don't think there's any place for them in like cities and towns and stuff like that. Like if you live on a farm, if you live out in the countryside or something like that, I can understand it more. But even so, I'd understand like
So
hunting
kind of like it
rifles,
is in most
shotguns.
countries with adequate gun control.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much.
The other side of this is that you then have less police with guns, which means less accidental police shootings. So it's just a big fucking win-win. God damn America. God
The
damn.
problem is just that everything just everything just elevates as soon as you have a gun. It just creates this potential for an extra level to be reached that makes everything a whole lot fucking more extreme and worse. A robbery becomes an armed robbery. An argument, a battery assault becomes a a murder charge. It's just,
Yeah,
human beings can be,
suicidal depression becomes suicide.
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
such a bad fucking thing. Um,
None of it's good. Well, at least Kane Chell didn't shoot anybody.
true.
But it sucks, man. He's not even a big drinker. That's the thing. If he was a guy that like gets on it a little bit, and I'd see it more. But like every indication is that he's, you talk about the whole bad guy persona. One of my all-time favorite interviews from Kane is when he's trying to explain how life was hard on the streets of Oregon. He's saying, "I was a kid, I couldn't have been older than 9, 10 years old. I saw a man across the street, didn't recognize him, never seen him before. Puts a gum in his mouth and just drops the wrapper just straight there on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Committed a crime right in
Main
front of me."
streets of West Lenore.
And he follows up. And sure, somebody here picked it up, put it in the trash, but for those few moments in between, my world was destroyed.
Yeah, no, Chael is fucking awesome. I just don't know. We'll find out. Well, I say hopefully. It wouldn't be wonderful if everyone had an adequate amount of privacy. But then, what the fuck would we talk about on the off weeks when we don't have any fights to cover?
True. Very true. I hate bad news though, man. Why can't? I mean, it makes sense. Like, not everybody that fights is going to be in the most emotionally stable of situations, and so it creates a higher propensity that you will see negative stories. That's even before you factor in them getting hit in the head repeatedly for most of their careers. And the fame spotlight and all the rest. It's a horrible mix, man. So many negative things that can end up fucking causing trouble and bringing trouble your way if you're famous for MMA. But we love it nonetheless. Any other news stories that are on your mind? I know obviously you can't look them up because you haven't got your phone on you, but is there anything that you've sort of seen in the last couple of days?
I feel like there was something, but I have to save it for next week. Do you want to just do a bullshit episode next week?
Hey,
Sort of
we can always
love
do a
and life
bullshit
and whatnot.
episode. You can always do a bullshit episode. Oh, mate, I was going to ask you, did you see the Roteng versus Demetrius Johnson in one championship?
I haven't seen any of the first round. Okay, I've only seen the second round, and I've read about the first, and it very much was just he just had to survive.
Just survive.
But yeah, it basically went exactly how just about everyone thought it would. Well, I guess there was a lot of Muay Thai fans that thought he wasn't going to get through that first round. I just think body mass is too special for that.
It's hard to finish people at 135 and around.
Yeah.
Particularly when they're as good as Demetrius Johnson. And they're not trying to be aggressive themselves.
Oh yeah, no, he knew what was what. So yeah, it was perfect. It was beautiful. I don't know. One FCs does give you some reasons to tune in.
It was cool. It was cool. And I'll tell you what was interesting, and the Weasel picked this up, but first round, and this just shows why people adopt certain striking, like why the karate stance is becoming so prevalent in MMA for strikers, and why so many people are looking to kind of take up this stance and have success with it. Roteng in the first round had his classic Muay Thai stance, very heavy front-footed going forward. As soon as the second round started, he adopted a complete karate stance. It's almost like they understood that for his skill set, trying to stay as long and rangy as possible is going to be beneficial.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did talk about it before, Abner. It's kind of a weird idea doing this because you haven't got two guys that are going to be able to compete in both rounds or both kind of alternating rounds in both styles. So it was always going to be Rodtang could only do the Muay Thai, and Mighty Mouse was going to take over in the MMA, and it was just going to be that weird, disparate kind of who cracks first.
It wasn't fair because even though you're saying, well, it's two guys and they get like a turn each in their discipline, Demetrius Johnson has Muay Thai skills. He has striking. He just also has it all mixed into his MMA game, including wrestling and grappling. Roteng has zero wrestling. It's not like they're coming into these things at like equal measures. You know, MMA stars, it's a little bit like putting a heptathlete and saying, okay, you're going to race the 100-meter sprint with Usain Bolt, but then after that, you're both going to do the long jump. And it's like, well, okay, like, I'm not saying I'm going to beat Usain Bolt. I'm obviously not, but I at least run the 100 meters. Like, I know what I'm meant to do. Usain Bolt doesn't do the long jump. I mean, I'm saying this and I'm realizing Bolt would actually probably do really well at the long jump.
It's a sprinter's sport, long jump. They if you're a sprinter, you tend to do long and triple jump as well when you're coming up.
Okay. The javelin. Okay?
Yeah.
The javelin. All right? Usain Bolt is not going to outthrow the fucking javelin guy, but he's not going to beat the heptathlete by the same length because the heptathlete at least knows how to fucking run the 100 meters.
Yeah. It was a spectacle. It was a spectacle event. It was kind of cool. One FC does give you better reasons to tune in. You know, they got a Mighty Mouse on the books. They got Eddie Alvarez. They've got some amazing fighters. Featherweight champ Tan Lee. We didn't talk about it, but he had the fight with oh my god, with the jiu-jitsu guy.
I see. The only thing I saw was Roteng versus Demetrius Johnson.
No, it wasn't this week. I think it was like a couple of weeks ago. I remember Tan Lee was on the season
was this the leg lock that went wrong?
Yeah.
Yes, kind of, I saw the finish. I saw him going for the leg lock and it failing fucking miserably.
Well, look, this guy was on the Ultimate Fighter and he looked so dangerous with his stand-up and so exciting that even when he lost in his like second or third fight in the house, the guy that he beat broke his arm trying to block a head kick and couldn't compete. So he still took that guy out of the competition. And then the UFC never really gave him a chance. And I'd kind of lost track of this guy. And then he popped up on my radar as being in like ONE FC. And then he's one FC champ, and then he's like putting together these fucking highlights. It was well defended leg lock, gets the finish. Just Tan Lee is definitely worth a watch. One FC, they give you reasons to tune in, and spectacle. Always love spectacle.
Spectacle is good. And on that note, we've been going for about hour and 40 minutes, so I think longer episode than usual, but a good chance to pack it in.
Spoiling you, Dave.
Guys, as always, like, comment, share, tell people about us, follow us on Instagram. I'm going to start posting more.
Feel free to put Sly's picks in the comments so that we fucking know what he picked, because he doesn't write them down.
Oh, we're going to confirm who did.
No one put in the comments that Sly won this week, by the way.
We're going to confirm it for next week. We're going to confirm it on the pick show next week. Josh and I will we'll find some bullshit to talk about for an hour or so next week before the pick show. And we will wish you a fantastic week until then. No fights this weekend, so find something else to do with your lives. And as always, bye Dave, bye Laurie, bye Trifo.
Bye Laurie, bye Dave.